There we go. So I'd like to thank all of you for coming here today. I would like to start today off with a story, and it's a story that you probably have all heard before. It's the year 1900 or thereabouts, and two shoe salesmen go to Africa to sell shoes. One telegrams back saying, "What a wasted trip. Nobody here wears shoes." And the other one, he telegrams back and says, "Nobody wears shoes." I'm sure most of you have heard that story before, but what happens next? Well, the first shoe salesman went home very grumpy, but the second, he had brought not only some samples with him, but he'd also brought everything he needed to make his shoes from any town that he visited. And do you know what happened next? And this is the best part. The rumor, the whisper of the existence of this new and amazing thing that could keep your feet from bleeding when you stepped on a rock and didn't see it, flowed over Africa. Can you imagine how this rumor, this whisper of a shoe, arriving in your town, what would it be like in your imagination? What would it feel like to imagine that this amazing piece of clothing on your feet for the first time? So too is it with us today. We hear rumors, we hear whispers of musicians playing. We're not quite sure of the circumstances or the public. We're not quite sure of anything, but we can hear and we can feel that something's going on out there. We hear the whispers. A dear friend of mine said to me the other day, "Why are you doing this, Kathy? What are you getting out of this?" I told him that I'd already received so much from these sessions that I could walk away happy. But what about the rest of us? I mean, well, why are we here? And it was the perfect question, and it brought me to the story I just told. I'm gathering whisperers. In the QR behind me lies my contact information, as well as a page containing the information of every person who will speak here today. Feel free to reach out to any of us with any ideas or suggestions you might have. And also, please write to me if you would like to be a speaker on our next month's event. This is my third month of Music is the Food of Life, and whispers are growing louder. And I thank you all for being here, and let's start the show. Lee, would you like to tell us who our sponsors are for today? Who's our special sponsor for today?
Sponsors for today are Ascentive. They're a global organisation that works with entrepreneurs to help them find that sort of work-life balance, to have a life of passion, and they're a collaborative group that support each other in creating each other's dreams and businesses. So that's our sponsors for today.
Thank you so much. Another sponsor for today is actually the landing pages that you see behind us here. It took me literally, I think, 15 minutes to make the page that you're all looking at right now. So that's another sponsor. I'm just going to do potluck here. The order of the speakers is the order that ended up on that page. So who is going to go first, I think, is actually Lee, if you'd like to talk first since you're the wingman for this, if you'd like to have a couple of minutes to talk first.
I think, and this is from the hip people, so it's not scripted, is that some of the meetings I do and some of the meetings I do with Kathy, a lot of the people we have at the meetings are networkers, either from BNI or entrepreneurs or business people. Obviously, this is slightly different, some might say quirky. And a lot of the meetings I run, I do my best not to put them on rails, which can cause a bit of disrupt for the left brain, the linear side. Where this event really is a bit about the left and the right brain, the creative and the linear. So, how do you put the strategy on music? How do you get sort of take that music emphasis in? Because normally it has that struggling artist mindset attached to it. So, I think what we're looking to achieve here is to take that struggle away from the artist by overlaying it with a few business skills, maybe some networking skills, a bit of right brain, a bit of creative thinking outside the box. I prefer to delete the box entirely. That's why I don't like rails. I like to give people the freedom of that imagination. The difference is, though, you've got a lot of people go into the imagination possibly were a bit like the imagination a child might use, where they put a box on top of their head and they become an astronaut, or they're in a box and they believe they're in a car and they're doing the toot toot and indicating and they're still in the same position. It's not that type of imagination I'm on about. The imagination I'd like to go into is more the linear side of the imagination. So, for example, if there was a load of, say, different color buttons, and they were all scattered on the worktop in your kitchen. You had to sort them all. You had to put all the greens with the greens, all the blues with the blues. You would know instantly by looking at it that the right colours weren't in the right colours. So utilising that creative side is some of the things you're going to hear today from some of the speakers. It's being able to utilise that creative imagination and put it in your order. Because the natural way of doing things is to show up into the world, and we trade who we are sometimes for who we think other people want us to be. Artists don't do that. And that's the challenge, is artists play music that feels right for them. They paint pictures that they like. Dancers create dances that make them feel good. And there's loads of different types of creativity in the arts. So to keep that passion behind what they do and overlay it in a nice linear creative way, in a way that we can put a strategy and a network on that to turn that into a business so they no longer struggle, is really the outcome, I think, of these meetings. So what I'd like you to do is tune into the imagination, not the box on top of your head, as in just pretend. Delete the box completely and leave your mind open to opportunities, possibilities, collaboration, unity, globally, not in a geographic location. How can we help and support each other in a collaborative way, in a creative way, in a way that serves the arts and each other? Anyway, I'm Lee Tunnyware, and it's back to you, Kathy.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. So next up is YP Live. YP, you're here, right? YP? Do I have to? Let me just check.
Yep, I'm here.
Awesome, wonderful.
Okay. So I'm still getting used to the rhythm. Is this where I make a presentation? Or?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm a bit different from Lee in the sense that Lee says he wants, if I got it right, to not always follow the rails. When I was much younger, I did a so-called IQ test, and they proved that I'm 97% left brain. I'm a civil engineer by background, and I love system and structure, and I need things organized. So, so I'm not somebody that's creative. I'm not somebody that's humorous. I'm a guy that loves processes. Is that right, Kathy?
No.
Okay, Kathy, can I share my PowerPoint?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I'm one guy who likes structure, and I normally use a PowerPoint in my presentation. So basically, I'm involved with BNI.
Can I say
Yes.
one thing quickly?
Okay.
YP is someone who's very, very, for those of you who aren't in BNI, he's a person who's very, very important. And he did me the honor of not only talking about one of my concerts in a global convention, he actually put me in one of his books. So when he says he's not artistic in any way, he's one of my biggest supporters, and he's been a very, very big part of my life. Thank you, YP.
Thanks, Kathy. Thank you so much for that. Okay. So one of the things about BNI, okay, is that I go around the world and I do training. I think I've trained, BNI leaders from, I would say, every continent. It's Antarctica and on continent. If Antarctica is a continent, that's the only continent that I've not trained anybody on. Apart from that, I've traveled and through Zoom, done a lot of training, okay, for people. So I'm just going to start off by asking a very simple question. Do you like working hard and long hours? So just type that into the chat box, okay? Whether is it a yes answer or a no answer, okay? I just want to make sure that I'm talking, talking to the right group or getting a bit feedback, okay? Okay, I see Kathy. Kathy's the only one that puts no there. What about everybody else? Okay, so yep, quite a few of us are saying no. Okay, definitely right. Okay, right. So that's very good. You know why? Because, if you look at this article here, it says that, they did a study and they found that only 8% of people actually achieve their goals, meaning that 92% fail to achieve their goals. And that's pretty scary, isn't it? Especially if you're a business owner and not achieving your goals. So, and then in this article, they talk about, and this article is from Inc. 5000, a very reputable, organization. And they say that, those successful people, those people who achieve their goals do 7 things differently. And the thing they do differently is definitely not working hard, Definitely working hard is not the solution, but here we are, in the business world, seeing so many entrepreneurs, so many business owners working really, really hard. And my story is that, I was working really hard, trying to climb the corporate ladder in my younger days, until the point that my wife was on the maternity bed, about to deliver our first child, and she was in the labor pains. And guess what? I was working so hard, so tired that when I was beside her on the bed, I put my head down on the mattress and I fell asleep. And according to the nurse, I even snored. So those of you ladies, can you imagine what reaction you would have if your partner is sleeping, and snoring away while you're in labor pains giving birth to a baby? So that was my wake-up call. And that's why I realized that working hard is not the solution. There's got to be a better way of working, right? And so from then on, I made it a point to be very conscious about looking ways how to, be able to work less and earn more, because I do not want to sacrifice my lifestyle, but I definitely want to have more time to spend with people that I care for. Okay, right? So today I'm going to share with you, how you can transform from being a stressed out person to somebody that's relaxed and in control. And this is through time mastery. Okay, how can you master time? There's a lot of concepts out there that you cannot master time, time is finite, and so on. It just doesn't matter. For me, you can have time mastery if you follow the right processes. Remember I was saying about being left brain. So what are the processes that you can follow? Now, for a start, can you identify with this situation, okay? You're working, doing a project, making a presentation, and suddenly you've got an email coming and you get distracted and you start to answer the email, and then the next email comes in, and suddenly you find yourself, doing a lot other things than when you originally planned. So if you can identify with this situation, can you just type a quick yes, okay, into the chat box, if you can identify the situation or if this has ever happened to you, okay? I would say it would have happened to many, many people, isn't it? And with us going more digital, it gets even more worse. Yeah, why? Because not only have you got emails fighting for your attention nowadays, you've got Slack, we've got WhatsApp, we've got Viber, we've got Facebook Messenger, all the social media platforms are there distracting us. Okay, so now it's very, very important for us not to be distracted. Why? Because you find that as you get distracted and when you come back to continue with your original task, you're not so focused. So the neuroscientists have found that every time we move away from a subject to a new subject, let's say from A to B, and when we get back to A, the brain has got to reset, and it takes energy to do that. So imagine you go from A to B to C to D to E and then back to A. So every time you jump, your brain have got to do a reset. And like any, it's not a muscle, but it's like a muscle. As you get it jumping from place to place, it gets tired. And that's why we've got this phenomenon called mental fatigue, right? So the way to do it, okay, is to do time blocking, okay? So I believe that some of us could already be practicing this. What's the time blocking strategy? It means that we got to plan our day by blocks. And these blocks could represent, in this example, 5 of the most important things in your life. Personal time is when you sleep, when you rest, when you have your meals. Okay, so this is personal time. Is that important? Say yes, okay? Just nod your head and say yes, right? The next one, if you're in business, time spent on your business, okay? That's important, right? And I put the word strategic there is because as a business owner, you should be focusing on the strategic part of your business and not so much the operations. And then the third one is family or relationships with people who matters most to you. That is something that many business owners tend to sacrifice, so-called chasing, the business success, right? And in BNI, I've seen many, I better not use the word many, but I've seen quite a few, successful business owners who end up, in divorce or in separations because they spend so much time on their business, they neglected their family, right? The fourth thing is personal development. So we need to put time aside to grow, to upskill ourselves. And lastly, the spiritual dimension, meaning that, we've got to spend sometimes in worshiping, sometimes in meditation, yoga, to be in touch with our inner self. Now, if you look at all these 5 things, are there any of these 5 things that we can do away with? Not really, isn't it, right? So what we need to do is to know what are the things important to you and then put them into blocks. So the left-hand side is an example of how a time blocking planner looks like. You put things into blocks, okay? So what you do next is you've got to do a task chunking strategy. You work at things in chunks, okay? So when you've got a long to-do list, the minute you start, you don't know, you don't feel motivated because the list is so long. And then when you've got just a single list, you could be working on something and something else distracts you, and you could jumping from, again, like the A, B, C, D, E, okay? So it's important to use a good task manager, and the one that I use is Microsoft To Do. So this is an example of my task manager. So I've got things, broken up into different folders. So my task is organized up by folders, okay? And the reason why I want to do have an electronic task manager is because I can take it anywhere with me. My tasks are with me on my handphone, on my tablet, on my laptop, on my desktop. So that's the beauty of doing a electronic task manager, right? So the idea is that one task list per rock, and then you use it to delegate. So if you see this box here, Jane is my VA. So I use this to delegate her tasks. And the thing is that I don't have to follow up with her because she is on my task manager. What happens is that every time she finishes a task, she say done, done, done in her app, and I see it highlighted as being completed on mine. So if we don't like chasing after people to ask, have you done it? Have you done it? Have you done it yet? And neither would your VA or your assistant like you, every other minute asking them, hey, have you done it yet? So using this, it reduces the friction between two persons that's working together. That's the other beauty of using a task manager, right? So what you do now is every time you've got a time block. So for example, in this one here, this is on strategic thinking for BNI Australia. So if this is a slot for me to do that, I'll just go to the BNI Australia task list and look at the things I've got to do there, okay? So I'm not, it's like putting on blinkers so that I'm not distracted by other things. So the other one is, for example, I'm doing some R&D, okay? So I just go and look at the R&D task list. That's all, okay? Right? So this way of having your time in blocks and having your tasks in chunks allow you to be more productive and effective, right? Okay? So you focus on only one task list per time block. And the third one, which is the third step, which is the last step, is you focus on an IPA strategy. What does IPA stand for? Income producing activities, right? So it comes from the idea from this book, okay? It's a bestseller, The 7 Habits. How many of us have read The 7 Habits before? Show of hands. Yeah, woo! Very good book, isn't it? So in The 7 Habits, it says that a lot of people tend to focus on, quadrant 1, where things are important and urgent. But if you want to have a better quality life, you're going to be focusing on quadrant 2, which is your IPAs, okay? So as a business owner, we should be spending 90% of our time on our IPAs, right? So I've actually identified a tool where we help business owners to identify their top 5 IPAs, and so they would stop multitasking, they would stop having so many things, to do, and that's just focus on things that's most important in business. So we say, you should be owning your business and don't let it own you. I've seen too many business owners that don't own a business. The business owns them. They are not proactive, they are reactive. Every day there's so many demands on their time, on their mental space that it's just not funny, okay? And we want to change that, right? Okay. So I'm actually running a webinar, okay, or a workshop, next Saturday. Actually, for the next 2 Saturdays, this is for the Mexico LA time zone, and the following Saturday I'm doing one which is 3:30 Singapore time, and it will be fitting people in London or the European time is better. So this is the link and the QR code here. So take out your handphone right now and take a picture of this, either to go to the link itself, or at least you've got the link to the link to the registration page. And by the way, this is a 90-minute workshop and it's for free. This is what I do for my friends to help them get on top of their business, get on top of their time so they can have more fun, more time with their loved ones. And that's all, Kathy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, YP. The reason I asked YP to speak first is because I've taken so many classes with him and I've learned so much from him, because we as musicians, We're not good at this. And so it's very, very helpful to realize, you know, when we have a concert, there's about 20 or 30 things that we have to do in order to be organized, because music is a business. And this is something that I really, really want to, can you stop sharing for a second, YP? This is why we're here today. Music is not a business. It is music is a business. It's not a charity. It's not something that we do for fun. There's two of Ivan Misner's books that actually speak about how the best pieces of work done in the world are done by the worst salespeople. Van Gogh, Mozart, Beethoven. We are not good at promoting ourselves as something that you buy. And so this is something that I would say to all musicians out there. I would say it's a good time to learn the other side. So this is why these meetings are happening, is so that one side can learn from the other, and we don't sit there and say, oh, well, I need to do what? Okay, and this is what the other side is doing what? And it's a good moment for us to take the extremes, because YP and I are two absolute extreme different sides of the brain, and learn to work together and make money together. So that was the reason that I asked him to speak first. So up next is Colin and Charles.
Thank you. Hi there. Okay, over to you, Colin. You're going to kick off, are you not? Thank you.
Yeah, can you, have you given me screen sharing, Kath?
I will give it, yeah, it's for everybody. Go ahead. You're good.
Okay, okay. So, okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Colin Horner. I did speak at this event last week, and what I did is I told you a bit about my background. As you can see, I'm not a very young man, so, but basically I call myself an explainer guy, and I explain communication in simple pictures. But my background is very left-brained. I, in fact, started off being born in that famous place, Liverpool, around the time of four very famous gentlemen. So music was part of my life, but I've got very eclectic tastes. I love AC/DC and those sort of people, but I do love classical music, and I've been involved in it. And what it helps me to do, and whilst I started off with that very left brain, in fact, I was qualified as an electrical engineer at Liverpool University. Gradually over the years, my brain has sort of, I don't know, maybe the other side of it's grown. So I do now a lot of visualization and helping people to communicate. And I'm also, by the way, a BNI member, so I subscribe to the lifelong learning, but I'm passionate about extending the mind, and things like what I'm showing you now extend my mind. So what I saw when Kathy introduced me to this music business was that I could perhaps become what you people would call the accompanist, that I could help bring what I saw. I've also got a business brain on me. 4 pods of music together, the players, the audiences, the venues, and the sponsors, who are all suffering in some way under this unusual condition. So since then, sorry, I just must go back a bit there. Since then, I've made a presentation to many BNI chapters about the music business and the opportunity there is for businesses to engage themselves. But I specifically want to talk about Charles, who I in fact met on this event a month ago. Now, Charles is a singer. I'm not. I'm a would-be singer. But he's also a poet and a reader and a teacher. And I think Dr. what was her name, Annalie, mentioned metaphysics. Well, Charles introduced me. By the way, whilst I was an engineer, I now read poetry. But Charles introduced me to medieval metaphysical poetry. I'd never even heard about it. But BNI says it's people and it's relationships. And when we engaged in a one-to-one during this session and then afterwards, we discovered quite strangely that we had a mutual interest in communication, and communication for people who, due to circumstance, i.e. an illness, can't communicate. And we're specifically talking about people who've had strokes. And strokes are a very common thing. In fact, it's one of the, I think it's number 4 on the top deadly diseases, and it affects people all from very young to very old. And what happens is, if they recover from the stroke, and hopefully they do, often they lose their speech and they lose the ability to communicate. So Charles and I started to collaborate in this area, and we've done a lot of work in the last month to, in fact, give a voice. And here's me. George Harrison said, if a guitar can weep, well, why can't a piano talk? So between Charles and I, we've been, or he's been, talking, or in fact singing to people who can't speak. And I've been providing some sounds and some, well, no, I don't do the sounds. Charles does the sounds, and some sounds and pictures. And it's been a wonderful collaboration for both of us, but it shows the opportunity there is there. So what I want to do now is just quickly show you some output from this, where I've just got to change to another presentation. So hopefully, let me just stop sharing and make sure that I'm going to share the right screen with you again. So this is a piece of, oh, sorry, wrong one. Let me just go back. This is a piece of collaboration. Oh yeah, that's the right one. Just close that one. Oh, sorry, bear with me. File open recent. Sorry about this, I'm normally better prepared. This one. So this is a piece of collaboration between Charles and I, which shows you how you can perhaps use communication, sound, pictures to appeal to a community. Oh, did I just want me make sure when I share my screen that I'm sharing my sound? That's better. So let me do it now. Are you able to see my, sorry, getting a bit mixed up here. Okay, so this is a collaboration between Charles and I, showing you what can be done in the music industry.
Now's the time for professional musicians to recover from crazy conditions and for business to give recognition to help us get out there and play. We've passed years of rehearsing and training, and we've spent many months home remaining. Now there's hope that there's no more constraining, so we can perform day by day. Now it's patronage that we are needing, smart venues and audiences too, like hotels and castles and restaurants, to help us make music anew. So, dear business fraternity, listen, you can help us achieve our new mission. Chamber music needs your ammunition to make its economy pay.
So that's what's capable when two creative minds put themselves together. So I'm available to open up opportunities. Thank you very much. Over to you, Charles.
Thank you very much, Colin. Well said. Okay, so as Colin said, we met at last month's seminar. We've clicked and been closely collaborating ever since. My specialities are words and music. Collins, or words and images. The entertainment sector will be the last to recover from this situation. Music making cannot be quantified financially. It's an industry that needs immediate business professional thought, effort, and support in order once more to thrive. The global business economy will gain as professional music and arts begin to flourish. Thank you for your support.
That was fantastic. That was absolutely wonderful. On that note, I'd like to send you all into breakout rooms for, let's just say, like 7 minutes, so we can bring some ideas back to the table here. So I'll see you all in about 7 minutes. If you can't get into a room, come back and I will send you to a new one.
All right. Well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Eamon Walsh. I own a company called USuite. We design and create bespoke software, but that's not really what I want to talk about today. I have a background in music. I've played music all my life. I have performed. I've been the guy in front of the curtain. I've had an events management company. I've been the guy behind the curtain. So I've seen it from kind of all angles. I want to talk a little bit about, and this is straight off the hip, by the way, guys. Okay, I've no slides for this or anything. This is straight off the hip. I think we have a bit of noise coming in there from someone.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I can't. There we go. Oops. I muted you. Go ahead. Unmute yourself. There you go.
Oh,
There you go.
Some people say I sound better when I'm muted, but yeah, I want to talk a little bit about music. I think everyone on the call here, from what I can tell, is an avid networker. So I want to talk a little bit about music, networking, and the opportunity in it all. And I mean, pretty much everything that I've learned about networking, I've learned from Lee Tunney, who was on the call. I think he's gone now, but pretty much everything I've learned about networking, I would have learned from Lee or through Lee. And one of the biggest things, as you all know, when we network, it's when we make that connection, it's not about making the connection of introducing or connecting person A to person B. It's more about transferring the trust we have with person A onto person B, right? And sometimes the challenge with that can be, how do we do that on, let's call it neutral ground? How do we do that in a neutral environment where it's safe for everybody and we can create a collaborative atmosphere and a collaborative environment? And we're here obviously today, music has brought us all together. And if we think about, keep that in your head and think about music, okay, concerts, performances, arenas, what we can do with that. And we're here today maybe to think about the opportunities that we can create for musicians and performers, but equally so, I think we should consider the opportunities actually that musicians and performers can create for us, right? In the sense, I think there is a view of, well, we need to create the opportunity for the musician, the poor musician, right? God, they need help. God love them, right? But in my mind, actually, there's a phenomenal opportunity that musicians and performers can create for us. What would happen if a concert was put on for, let's say, corporates, business owners, entrepreneurs, where we all came to a room to eat good food, drink good wine, and listen to phenomenal music? What would happen if you were in that environment with your top clients, your top potential clients? What opportunities would that create? Who could you build relationships with? And would it create that neutral, safe environment for us to transfer trust, to build those relationships and to network on purpose and to network with integrity and credibility and enjoy yourselves, right? So that's the thought that I wanted to leave with you guys, just to consider that, you know, what is the opportunity? Yes, what are the opportunities we can create for musicians and the arts and the industry, but also what opportunities can they create for us? And I think that's something that's undervalued. So that's the thought I wanted to leave you guys with today. And as I said, that's off the hip. So I don't know how that lands, but I hope it's thought-provoking. Thanks, Kathy.
That was fantastic. That was actually fantastic. Thank you so much. Wonderful. The next one up is Manjiri.
Thank you, Kathy. Thanks a lot for inviting me. For those of you from BNI, I am very much from BNI. I'm part of the Milton Keynes UK chapter. And I have, as you can see, some members from my team who are here. What I do is run Maya Care. It's a charity, and I am on a charity seat at BNI. So Maya Care, we look after the elderly in their own homes, in care homes, in assisted living, wherever they are. And what we have managed to do over the past 12 years is do 10,200 plus free visits to the elderly. And right now we are present in 4 cities of the UK and 21 cities of India. And what I'm really here for to appeal to all of you, whether you're from BNI or other parts of the world, and it's so nice to see people from different places, is how can we start Maya Care in your country? How is it that we can offer this service absolutely free of charge to the elderly in your country? And the other thing we've done with Maya Care is just a bit of a background that, you know, how somebody asked us in the breakout room right now, who funds Maya Care? How does this work? Because the service has been free for this long. My husband, Abhay Joshi, and me have tried to fund this through our own personal incomes for this long, for 12 years, whether it was our jobs or businesses or whatever else we tried to do. And it's just the last year, from April of last year to now, where I quit my corporate job and I stopped doing what I was doing for a personal income. And I'm completely putting in all my energy into Maya Care. Why? Because we're thinking of Maya Care to be much larger than ourselves, definitely, and much larger than the 2 countries we currently operate in. And the dream we have is quite audacious, I would say, because we are looking at a Maya Care helpline in every spoken language of the world. We are hoping that this spoken language, every spoken language of the world, you'll have a Maya Care helpline, which is managed by a person with disability in that country. And we'll be able to pay a proper salary to the persons in that country to be able to do this work. So one of the things we've tried to do is we now have 100 people with disability working with us, various kinds of disabilities, from visual impairment to hearing impairment to learning disability to, of course, wheelchair-bound people and cerebral palsy, polio, all kinds of things. And it's been an amazing journey. And what we've seen is that they're actually able to take on roles which were earlier not open to them. They've just taken on. I mean, I'll give you a very quick example because we're talking about music. Just yesterday, we've taken on a lady from Manchester who's a musician. She's a vocalist, and she's going to manage our UK helpline. And so I got 10 calls and I said, no, you're not eligible. And I just said, this job is reserved for someone with a disability. And this lady fitted the bill because she cannot see at all. So everybody else was fine otherwise, but we've taken her on because the job is meant for them. And so what we try to do with this is that manage to, and this lady with disability, the lady who cannot see, is going to have a partner who can see but can't do other things. So she sends her the voice notes, and then she's going to upgrade, you know, do the database, goes back to her and all of that. And we've done a number of projects like this. One of the things we're doing is doing the vaccination for 1,000 people in India, a project entirely managed by people with disability, trying to, you know, what one can't do, the other does, and help each other. So this is the vision. And this is, so essentially the 90% of paid roles in Maya Care in the long runs will be held by persons with disability across countries, across cities. We are hoping that everything from HR, finance, accounting, fundraising, everything else will be done by this team. And only the persons who actually visit the elderly will be people who can visit the elderly. And for this, there is a lot we need. And I'm really hoping to connect with a lot of people here individually to seek your help, seek your guidance in what we can do in your country, to start a supporters group, to reach out to people, you know, who are chartered accountants, legal experts. What is it we need to do to start in your country? Or, of course, raise funds for that particular country. So thanks a lot for having me, Kathy. And I'd love to meet up with people later. Thanks.
I'm going to change the order a little bit here, and I'd like to send everyone into a quick breakout room so you can talk about what classical music can do for you and how it can help businesses that you know. Okay, and so exactly what Ian was saying, this is not a charity. This is something that's absolutely amazing. And at the end, I'll tell you something that unbelievable that's happening to me here in Toluca because of this new attitude. Okay, so I'm going to send everyone out into breakout rooms. Let's just make it 5 minutes, and that's the topic of the discussion. So I'll see you all there.
I'm pretty sure we weren't done yet, Kathy.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's going to be another breakout room, so we're good.
Anyway.
I
I'll
think we
ask
would have been
people.
done for an hour if we were let run.
If you want, guys, I can put the same rooms. If people would like those rooms again, we could do it that way. So just let me know if that's something you would like. Okay. There's going to be one more breakout room after this. So let me just. Dan's up next.
All right. So by a show of hands, how many of you are fully present 100% right now? Oh, that's way too many hands. I don't believe you. All right, so here's what I want to do. I want to change the state. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Take 2 deep breaths. And on your next breath, I want you to breathe in love. And I want you to breathe out any negative feelings you have about yourself. And on the next breath, I want you to breathe in life. And I want you to breathe out fear. And if you do that little exercise for 15 minutes, you literally will open your heart and mind to the quantum field of possibility. And really, isn't that what we're all here to do? So you can open your eyes. I expect that you all will be present and hear every word I say as if it's profound. Right? I just need you to know I work for $25,000 an hour. So what are you worth as you enter into the world? And what is it about music that could be so compelling to business? Well, actually, it's what music does that business so desires and actually puts up all the fences to make sure it doesn't happen. So what's business want? They want great leaders. They want people who make great decisions. They want people who are critical thinkers, right? They want people to do all kinds of things. And then what are the barriers that they put up? Don't have your own individual thought. Don't self-express. Don't be emotional. Don't be vulnerable. And yet, could you please bring all your innovation to the table? Right? Well, that's a pretty hard choice. So here's what I think. It's not about us as musicians or creatives. It's all about them and transporting and transforming them to the world we know we can bring them. So in my world here in the United States, we have a place called Silicon Valley. And for those of you who know, that's where all the big tech companies are. So what most people would do is they would call Apple or Facebook or Google, and they would try to get money. And then, of course, they get rebuffed, and there's too many gatekeepers, and all kinds of craziness happens. And then we're begging for venues and all kinds of things. But if we actually transcended them as individuals and looked at them in the collective, we could set up the Silicon Valley Arts Fund. Now, this becomes the magnet for all of these companies to say, I want to be a platinum donor, a gold donor, a bronze donor. It's all about their ego. So in the United States, what would that mean? Well, one of the buzzwords is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Well, the arts is all about that. So if you can't participate, I'm assuring you that the Wall Street Journal will have your name on a poster, that you're bullshitting everyone when you say this. Now, who would I speak with to get $100,000? I don't think in dollars. I think in quantum field of possibility. So if we wanted to say, how would you set your business apart so that people actually thought of you as a good citizen, because we think of tech as the enemy. So now we can help you with a new personality. What if this could enrich the community so that people didn't think you were taking advantage of them? How might this amplify the skills in your own company, right? So in the world in which we all play, what matters the most is not ourselves, it's all about them. So when we go out and we ask for something, we only have a 50-50 chance, yes or no. When we go out and create impact, when we create value, when we create something that is so unbelievable that people say, how can I participate? Then we're in the game. So many of us would think that in the land of COVID, money is really tight, business can't afford to do anything. It's actually just the opposite. They can't afford not to. Yeah?
Yeah.
So this is, and I think this is really in our own lives. So what most of us do is we say, here's where I am right now. I'll look out 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. This is absolutely backwards. If we take ourselves to the quantum field of all possibility with no restriction, money's not a problem, people aren't a problem, resources aren't a problem, building's not a problem, whatever your problems are, if you can imagine out in this field, then you can reverse engineer back. That will put you 100 miles ahead of those with whom you compete, or if you're competitive, right? So I want to urge you to start to think differently. If you don't have a provocative opening, you're probably not there yet, right? Provocative gets people's attention. People don't donate to needy people. This is about status and power. Yeah, in the business world, status and power is what gets a door open. Yeah. So let me give you a quick example. I'm in New York, I'm trying to raise millions of dollars, and I'm sitting in an office where there's more mahogany than in the Amazon forest. There's oriental carpets, there's glass and chrome, and the virtue of the office is, I'm really rich, I'm powerful, you're needy, sit and wait. So I have a 1 o'clock appointment, it's now 1:15. I walk up to the receptionist and I said, Gloria, listen, I only had an hour today. Clearly, I'm not going to be able to do what I was here to do. Do me a favor and tell Jim if he has an interest in my deal, he can call my admin and come visit our office at his leisure. But I have to leave now. Mr. Silverberg, can you just wait 30 seconds? And don't you know, Jim walks through the door just like that? That's about status and power. That's not, I don't need your money, money's fungible. And so I think if we open our thinking that we are the prize, what we're bringing into the world is the gift, the genius and light that it needs. That's like an attraction that will draw lots of people, right? So I hope this opens up your thinking. I hope you'll take the time before you're, whatever it is you're doing, to actually presence yourself. Because if you can slow down and you can presence yourself and you actually listen, we're all divinely inspired, and you will unbelievably get downloads that actually will solve what it is you're trying to do. Was that 4 minutes?
That was amazing. That was fantastic. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. I learned a lot from that. That was great. It's I can't remember actually which Ivan Meisner book it was, but we as musicians are some of the few people who actually invent not only themselves but their own businesses. And so we just have to take it a step further, and we just have to say, this is we've invented ourselves. We've created a creative entity. We just have to take it that one step further and say, buy us. And I know it's really hard. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. If you're an architect and you build a house, and your carpenters or something, they're not good, you know, someone's not going to like the house. But when someone doesn't like us, we're the product. And it I don't know, for those of you who aren't musicians, when you stand up on a stage and nobody applauds, it's horrible. You know, it's absolutely horrible. And you have to not hire new carpenters. You have to figure out, what did I do wrong? Why didn't that person like it? And it's so much harder for us as the product to go out there and do it again. And I think that's part of the reason that we're not so good at selling ourselves, because the first person who says no, they're not saying no to the badly built house, they're saying no to us. And that's a very, very hard thing. And thank you so much. You made me think about a whole mess of different things. That was wonderful. So the next up is Paul.
There you go. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Kathy. I have a question here that Kathy asked me. You know, how classical music can be used to for business benefit. And the way I approached this was, I said, well, business is in the money business, but musicians are in the people business. You know, but the curious thing about this is that business needs people to make money. The musicians need money so they can entertain people. So how can we get the two to work together? So for example, a favorite story Kathy has, I was saying that I've been to a few American hotels that used to travel quite a lot as an international consultant. Beautiful hotels, well appointed and everything else, but I'd go to the lobby and be very quiet and very stale. And it felt like a place where, yes, I transactionally it was fine. I could go get my key, go to my room, whatever I had to do. But it's very process oriented. There's no life there. And then I shared the story about going to a hotel in Beijing. And it was just, it was a Holiday. It was a a Grand Hotel of the Holiday Inn chain, but it was a Holiday Inn in Beijing. The thing that made that place different was that leading up to dinner time, they had a couple of singers singing from the Beijing Opera. And let me tell you, it's amazing because that particular hotel had, the different floors were on different levels of the atrium. So it was an open atrium. Everybody had balconies looking down onto the ground floor. And these two voices just totally permeated the entire space, made it a very enriching experience. And that's what I think we need to do. That's the difference that musicians can bring, let's say, to the hotel or hotel environment. So why perform in hotel lobbies, for example? Well, by being there, you generate interest. There's a sense of life. As I say, you move beyond just the pure transactional function of what a hotel lobby is for. You're breaking the silence and you're reaching out and engaging with people. You're engaging the audience. Just think of it this way. There's a cafe there. There's always a lobby cafe. Well, all of a sudden, the impromptu entertainment for the patrons there. And hey, I'm sitting there just for the price of a cup of coffee. How good is that? And not only that, these business people can wander around the lobby. I mean, be there present, the music, everything else. They started to enjoy the space and say, well, what else is here? And they can start checking out the surroundings, the meeting rooms in the area and so on. And then they start asking themselves, well, is this a place where I can hold my meeting or my training session? And, one booking of one of those meeting rooms might just cover the cost of the entertainment. So how good is that for the hotel proprietor? Not only that, think of it this way. When a hotel promotes, they say, hey, we're here, we got space, and you can sleep nicely here. That's lovely. That's exactly what it is. But when a musician promotes, they say, hey, come on down to this hotel. We're going to have a show here. enjoy yourself. So there's a sense of urgency and there's a sense of life and anticipation because you're going to be there brightening that space up, and it's only for now, only at this time, not all the time. And that's why we bring excitement, we bring life to the hotel space. So I think there's a major role that musicians can play, let's say in entertainment venues or venues like that, that might not be used to entertainers. You bring something special. And one last thing I wanted to leave you with is the fact that, you know, at the end of the day, musicians, you are a business too. And you say, well, how can you say that? You know, we're specialists, you were trained for years and so on. I said, well, look, I'm a business coach. I'm not a musician, I'm a business coach. My job is to help you make a donut. And people go, donuts. I said, well, you know that bit in the middle? That's what you do. That's you and what you do. I'll never know more about that than you do. Our job together is to build all the stuff around it, the sales, the marketing, the admin, the finance, the legal, all those processes that connect what you do to the marketplace. If we can do that together, you make a structure like that together, you can thrive as a musician. And yet you have a system around you that can support you and connect you with that marketplace. So I hope that's left you with a few ideas, Kathy and team.
Thank you so much. And I have one question for you, and I already know the answer. How many years ago did you go to that hotel?
It's been over 10 years now.
And how long does that memory stay? So music is like the best meal you've ever had. You remember the place and you remember when it was. When you hear something like that, it makes the place, he even remembers the name of the hotel. He remembers what the hotel was like. And he remembers the stairs going up and everything else 10 years ago. And all that was just because, you know, two singers were singing on the stairs. Okay, so that's something to remember. I'm going to send you guys back into breakout rooms. I'm going to send the same rooms again, so we can discuss how can we really start working together? How can musicians stop saying, please help me? And how can we start doing what Dan was saying and really get out there and be our own businesses? And the last two speakers, I've left them for last because they are musicians. And so we're going to go from the other side. I started basically with Colin, and I'm going to end with the other two musicians who are here on the call today. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to discuss how we can really start working together as two completely different brained types of people. Okay, see you all in a bit. Back.
Okay.
So the next person up is Alan.
Huh? What? Well, once again, Kathy, thank you so much for having me here. To give you a little bit of background of who I am and what I have done, I used to sing opera professionally and was an audio engineer. I was raised in an out-of-the-box thinking environment. This picture behind me here is of Nikola Tesla, where he says, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Well, my father was an out-of-the-box thinker. He was actually an electrochemical engineer, and he used technology of Nikola Tesla so successfully that our federal government shut him down 3 different times. But in that, I go back into understanding of what we can do because of so much brand new, and I call it brand new technology, especially in healthcare and sciences, is that everybody knows about genetics. Well, now then we have what's called epigenetics. And the basic understanding of epigenetics is that every single cell in the body is influenced by 4 environmental influences, and that's chemical, heat, light, and sound. And so every single cell, which is this picture behind me, has receptors, and the receptors are influenced by chemical, heat, light, and sound. So as we find a way of transferring the energy from a sound wave through the synapses and then up to, well, actually through the axons up to the synapses, we can find ways of being able to modulate the neurotransmitters from point A to point B. And just like as I was showing earlier in this GIF that I have on here of the difference between 440 hertz and 432 hertz, the blob that you see behind me in this cymatics GIF is 440 hertz. But if you slowly modulate it to 432, then you get this geometric pattern. Once again, this is a way to be able to change the delivery of the energy of that sound wave to the brain. And so here is 440 hertz, and then over here is 432. Someone told me one time that it's like a difference between the pellets inside of a shotgun as compared to a sniper rifle. And once we're able then to bring that about, and there's so many frequencies that have been identified through Johns Hopkins, the Mayo Clinic, Harvard School of Medicine, MIT, and others, that specific frequencies will raise your cognitive ability. Well, we're coming into an understanding, and what I'm doing is to find a way to raise the human potential, because we all have so much pollution in our lives. And recently in business, people call that, well, there's so much noise, but they're not talking about the sound of noise. They're talking about all this other pollution. Well, we do have sound pollution now then in all digital audio. We cannot stop that. But if we, well, we could, but if we did, then the audio would not sound good whatsoever. Because if we're on one specific frequency, then we would be always talking like this, like the cone heads, and it would be talking and repeating like this. But we don't. We go all the way up and down. And so what I'm here to do is to help and encourage for everybody who listens to digital audio, including music, to be able to raise their potential to get rid of that pollution that's within that, so that we can all become better, so that we all can utilize our thoughts to the best ability to create everything we need. When Dan was talking earlier, it was just incredible to think about how we can focus our thoughts on creating and making our lives better. And this is one of the things that everybody does. So what I'm trying to do is the crossover between quieting the mind and the thought, but also then increasing the human potential. And I think that we can all do that if we just become aware of the sounds that we're putting ourselves into, like a very noisy restaurant where people have to yell at each other to be able to talk. Well, they're taking away, they create that environment, but if to be able to facilitate telling you how to order your food, put the check down, put more butts in the seat. If you think about the fine dining French restaurants that you've ever been to in your life, it's quiet. And dinner is not, you don't go to dinner in the evening. Dinner is the evening in most European countries. It's not that way here in the States. And so we need to be able to figure out a way to filter out, make better choices. And this is what my company, and I'll put my contact information in the chat box here now for anybody who wants to be able to get hold of me in LinkedIn or even
Also
schedule.
here, for every single person, and actually your webpage is also on this QR code. So if anyone wants to get in touch with him directly, you just click on his picture, and he has his page also in the page there.
Well, that is so cool. Thank you so much, Kathy, for that. So there is that one. And then also, yeah, let's do a Zoom call. And I mean, I'll put that into the chat also. There we go. So Kathy, you are a blessing to me for inviting me to come here, and everybody else, my gosh, thank you for sitting and listening to me.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Our final speaker for today, our final official speaker, is Hugh. I've saved him for the end because he's one of the few people I know who's managed to be, well, the last two speakers, I'll include you also in this, who have managed to be amazing musicians and business people at the same time. It's a very difficult and hard path to find, and that's why I've saved him for last, so he can explain that path and how it works. Hugh, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to take a different tact. I'm going to talk about the presence, the persona, and the skill of a leader. And when I left 40 years of music ministry, people said, "You're a conductor. What do you know about leadership?" I said, "I'm a conductor. I know about leadership." There's a big misperception that conductors are bullies and they make people do things. Well, I got to tell you, you see behind me a union orchestra. I got a little white stick. I can't make anybody do anything, but I can influence people to perform at a higher level. So I'm going to show some slides. It's an overview of complex concepts. At the end, I'm going to give you a link for more in depth if you want to explore any of those. But I want to help you reframe leadership and know that you can utilize the skills you already have. And bouncing on YP and Leon and everybody is brilliant information. I agree with everybody. We have right, left brain simultaneous processing abilities. We have a rigid structure, very unforgiving. We must be creative without breaking the rules, staying in the structure. So we understand that. How do we reframe our skills into the workplace? I work with corporate leaders, nonprofit leaders, clergy. It's the same stuff. How do we open up our minds? So I'm going to show you some slides here, and I'll be able to share the slides with you, and then a program you can dig into more. But it's time to step up. Yes, step up. You got the skills, you got the abilities, so equip yourself in a new way. What we've learned, what we've been taught doesn't work. We've been taught the boss thing. Boss spelled backwards is double SOB. It doesn't work in today's. And then we want to go ahead and do things because we got a brilliant idea. When I served a mega church and I had 750 people in my music ministry, 200 events a week, I had to learn different skills. I had to learn where are your blind spots. I had a lot of CEOs in my committees, in my ensembles. They weren't leaders, they were politicians. So what are our blind spots? So here's some barriers. There's a list, but I'm going to take them one at a time. So we don't understand true leadership. What is leadership? If you Google it, you'll find millions, 2.5 million references to leadership. I'm going to talk about leadership. Not being vulnerable. We step up on the podium. In order to make music, we must be vulnerable. We're not a wimp. We also need to say, okay, I don't have all the right answers, but I got really good questions. But when we're stepping in front of people, we have to really be prepared. And it's about relationships. The saying is, if the orchestra respects the leader, the conductor, they play as the conductor intends. If they don't, they play just as the conductor directs. And I'm pretty flawed at that. So relationships is the heart of leadership. No self-control. We're out of control. The bully conductors, the George Sell and the Toscanini methods don't work today. They worked in their culture, their time. If we are out of order, we can't manage ourselves. There's unintended consequences to that. We gotta have music score. We gotta have a direction where we're going. We have to have a roadmap. It is not trapping us in a place where we can't be creative. It is the container for creativity. We've got the chord structure. We know where we go. All the players know their part because we've done the plan. So without those, we set up problems. Leaders set up problems every day unintentionally. So we transform ourselves, we transform organizations, and ultimately we transform people's lives. Leadership is influence. Fundamentally, we influence others by who we are, by what we know, and our passion for excellence. So if we want to change our future, we need to change ourselves. So we want to talk about what we do, but why is it important? We need to be able to articulate clearly what we're doing. People tell me about their organization all the time, and I still don't know what they're doing. And politicians promise things. They talk about what they're going to do. Well, business people and leaders talk about what they've done, the impact, the results of their work. That's the heart of the matter. We are people who create results and then build a support system. So here are 4 leadership principles from conducting. I'm going to take these one at a time. If you can master these, you can lead better anywhere you work. Know the score. I step on the podium, I've got this score. I understand every piece. I've analyzed the chord structures. I've looked at the dynamics. I've marked it. I know what I'm doing. I approach the rehearsal prepared. There is me in December 2019, the last live Christmas performance in front of the orchestra. I had worked 2 years in the structure of leadership with the leaders, with the board. And basically this organization was facing bankruptcy. At this concert, it was the first time in 37 years they had filled the hall, first time in 37 years they had made money on a concert, and it became the buzz of the town because we created a different experience that was a live experience relevant to the orchestra. We have very demographic in Lynchburg, on stage and in the audience, represented the demographics of Lynchburg, Virginia, a place in the South. So our roadmap is our plan. Where are we going? It's our musical score. It's our sheet music. It's where we're going. It's where people understand how to work together. It's a place where we create the synergy. Like Covey said, synergy is greater than the sum of the parts. And in that plan, talks about the skill set. What do you need to be able to pull this off? Nothing happens without leadership. So the fundamental principle one is about foundations. Know the score, know where you're going. Number two, you must have relationships. Here's the orchestra. Yeah, you got different instruments. They sound different, different skills and different personalities. Your team has a variety of personalities and they approach life differently. The oboe player does not have the same personality as a trumpet player. So we as leaders can pull this together, understand the differences, understand the nuances. It is quite a variety of experiences to pull together. We can pull it together. I don't hire the very best oboe player for my orchestra and then tell them how to play the oboe. Every day, business leaders say, I want to hire you to do marketing and here's what I want you to do. Well, that's pretty dumb. We need to understand the skills of our team members and we need to use those skills, let them use it. Our job is to articulate the end result. Our job is to be very clear on the vision. Our job is to lead, to guide the music making. How does your team perform? Well, that's a function of your leadership. So before you start blaming other people for low functioning, why don't you look in the mirror? If we don't get the results we want as a conductor, it might be what they see is what I get. Third, we rehearse. People in business just go at it. They have bad meetings. They don't rehearse. There's a standard of excellence that we have, and we maintain that, and we connect together. Here's a uniquely American sport, NASCAR. 13 seconds, 7 guys jump over the wall, they change 4 tires, fill the tank, clean the windshield, they're back over. 13.1 seconds, you've lost track position. It's a very skilled performance. They rehearse relentlessly because it matters. And so we do, I guess, and I could say, have you attended a boring, unproductive meeting? Yes. Have you ever led a boring, unproductive meeting? Yes. I don't know any conductor in the world that uses an agenda for rehearsal. I don't know any teacher that uses an agenda for classrooms. We work toward results. So if you reframe your meeting from agenda-based to results-based, deliverables, what will we accomplish in this 2-hour rehearsal? What will be the result of our work together? That is a more effective system, and one of the most dysfunctional systems in corporate America, in nonprofits, in churches, in synagogues, everywhere is bad meetings. How do we expect to have good results? If we have a bad rehearsal, can we expect we're going to have a stunning concert? It's going to be mediocre at best. So we are building the DNA of the ensemble in our engagement. So up the game. So you develop your happy process, you start relationship, you put people in a system, it's process. The process creates trust. It's a system nobody can manipulate because it's open and transparent. Trust forms a new community, and that new community builds relationships. If you're not reading the music, you haven't rehearsed, you haven't done your part, you're not a good member of this ensemble. So it stands out. And the fourth principle is balance. There's rests in music. Just think of the Beethoven Missa Solemnis, this mammoth piece of music, very difficult, very loud, very fast. There's a grand pause, and then this violin comes from heaven with this overtone. It's just a dramatic moment with the silence. That rest is punctuation. It's setting up the next dramatic moment. If we don't take care of ourselves, we don't rest, we don't work on our spiritual, physical, mental, our whole person, and spend time for reflection, that time reflection gives us perspective, and that perspective helps us evaluate and clarify things. We're always evaluating and refining, so that helps us get that refinement, and that inspires our planning, and then that planning energizes our work and the work of the team. When I was in rehearsals with Robert Shaw, the famous choral conductor, he worked harder than everybody else. The first rehearsal, he had worked 20 hours for every hour of that rehearsal, studying it to get what he talked about, that intangible out of it. We prepare for rehearsals, we prepare for work, and we inspire the team because we are prepared. That's how we gain respect, because we're there. And if we don't keep working on ourselves, either our organization is limited by our ability, or it's going to outgrow us. So continuing improvement is the word. Always work on yourself. The speaker, Jim Rohn, used to say, work on yourself harder than you work on your business. We know as musicians, we have to practice every day. Perfect practice makes perfect. So summary, foundations is who you are, where you're going, what your skills are. Can you articulate what's in your brain? Surround yourself with the best people, mastermind group, board, committee, a work team. So build and maintain relationships. That's the heart of not only leadership, but the heart of communications. Rehearse for success. Good systems, good meetings, ditch the annual evaluation, create an ongoing system so you're evaluating every minute, just like in a rehearsal. We're always fine-tuning, we're always adjusting. That's how we work in real life. And then balance your life, work, play, rest, study, live life. Your business doesn't run you, you run your business. Always have a coach because you have those blind spots. So write this down, betterleader.me. I'll put it in the chat. This is an in-depth, it's a free podcast. It's an in-depth dive to every one of these themes. Any one of those slides could be an hour presentation. So I would invite you to ask questions, but I would also invite you to get on my calendar. Let's talk about how we can work together to make the world a better place. I have lots of content, lots of programs, and I want to share. I have made all the mistakes you can make more than once. So you could say I'm an expert because I've learned from those mistakes. If you want to email me, here's that. I will put these slides in the chat, and I will also, Kathy, I can give people a work action guide for this. I will give it to you. And anybody that wants the action guide, see Kathy, because it's a pretty robust document. I do have a community for nonprofit leaders, nonprofitleadership.online. It's where we come together as leaders to work on ourselves, to build relationships, and to network with others, because we're not alone. We need a culture of other leaders like this culture. We need a support system, and we need wisdom outside of ourselves. So I am so honored to be here, because I'm the least of these presenters, because there's been amazing wisdom. But I want to leave you with, you make it happen. You've got a vision. In my mega church, I wrote a book after I left there, my first of 10 books. And I determined in that church as music director, where I had all of those people, 10% of my job was music. 10% of my job was music. 90% allowed me to do that. It was the structure. It's the business part of church. It was the business part of leadership. So work on yourself, work on that 90% that lets you do what your passion is. And here's to your success. So thank you for giving me opportunity to share today. And I will drop the PDF of the slides in the chat, and I'll also drop my contact information. And so thank you, Kathy, for letting me present today.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing. Please send me all the information. Please save the page, because I'm going to put all of his information, and any of the speakers, if there's more information you'd like to share, please just send it to me, and everyone keep the page and it will get automatically updated. Okay. So I would like to say, we have time, I think, for one more 5-minute breakout room. I think I'm going to change them this time just a little bit. And I would say also quickly that one of the best gigs I ever played was with someone like Hugh, who brought leaders into the orchestra. And we actually had them sitting next to each other. And this is before I was a business person. And it was so strange to me to have this business person sitting next to me saying, wow, what are you doing? And it was the first time I actually had an interaction with someone who wasn't a musician. And so this is something that, Hugh, I really hope you and I can do together sometime, is bring an orchestra together and you can have the class live, because it's something to really, really live through that. So I'm going to change the breakout rooms. I'm going to give us five more minutes, and then we will have closing remarks. So we'll see you back in 5.
Did everything.
We have Dan for maybe 2 more minutes, and so I'd like for him to give us some closing remarks, and then I have hopefully a special surprise for you guys at the end.
Awesome. So I really enjoyed being here. So Kathy, thanks for inviting me today. And the one thing I want to leave all of you with is that you are the gift. So here's my, I guess, close for you. You're a living mystery, and all your power is waiting to be found and liberated inside of you. I'm here to tell you that you can trust who you truly are. I've dedicated my life to that. I can promise it's getting better by doing so, and I can promise it'll do the same for you. So who are you? What's your gift? You're here, you chose to be here. Unleash the genius, the gift, and the light. That's what the world, you're here for a reason, and you're here for this time. And this is the time to raise the consciousness of the universe and the planet. So I thank you all for allowing me to speak today. And Kathy, thanks so much. You all have a great weekend, and happy 4th.
Thanks, Dan. You too.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. And as a closing surprise, I would like to play the song that we had at the beginning. Before we play the song, you people are the whisperers. You are the people who can bring the message of music and how useful it can be to people, to the world. So please join us again a month from now. It'll be the first Saturday of the month, and spread the word about what we're doing and what music can do for people. And go ahead, we're all ready for you.
Now's the time for professional musicians to recover from crazy conditions, and for business to give recognition, to help us get out there and play. We've passed years of rehearsing and training, and we've spent many months home remaining. Now there's hope that there's no more constraining, so we can perform day by day. Now it's patronage that we are needing, smart venues and audiences too, like hotels and castles and restaurants, to help us make music anew. So, dear business fraternity, listen. You can help us achieve our new mission. Chamber music needs your ammunition to make its economy pay.
That was fantastic. Thank you all so much. I'm putting here in the chat, the page where all of everybody's information is, and a recording of this should be on that page by Monday evening. Okay, so I thank you all for being here, and please tell people about what we're doing, and please invite people to our next session. Okay, and I'll help you out. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Kathy, for inviting.
Thank you.
YP, let's you and Kathy and I get together, and we got some things in common.
Absolutely, that'd be great.
Well, I got things in common with everybody. Colin, thank you for that great presentation.
It was amazing,
awesome.
Colin.
Yeah. Thank you for your Mozart 5 the other evening. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yay. Thanks, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thanks, everyone.
Good job. Have a good fourth.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Yeah. Thank you,
Enjoy your
everyone.
holidays, everybody.
Good
Thanks, everyone.
Good to see you all.
Stay safe.
Take care.
Stay safe.
Thanks, Kathy.
Namaste, namasko.
All right. Thanks,
Thanks,
Kathy.
Kathy.
Appreciate the
Thank
opportunity.
you. Thank you so much.
See you
Thank
soon.
you.